Maps. They are one of humanity's most powerful tools. With them, we chart oceans, divide continents, and measure our place on the earth. We usually think of maps as inventions of the last few thousand years, born from the sailors of Greece, the astronomers of Babylon, or the explorers of the Renaissance. But what if the story is far older? What if, long before Columbus, long before Ptolemy, long before the pharaohs of Egypt, ancient India had already mapped the world more than 14,000 years ago? It sounds impossible, but within India's oldest texts, scriptures like the Surya Siddhanta, the Mahabharata, and the Puranas, we find descriptions of continents, oceans, planetary cycles, and even the size of the earth itself. The numbers are so precise, the geography so detailed, that many researchers today are left asking, where did this knowledge come from? Could humanity's first maps be hidden in plain sight, disguised in myth and poetry? To begin unraveling this mystery, we must step into the world of India's ancient astronomers. The Surya Siddhanta is perhaps the most shocking of all. This Sanskrit text, often dated to around 500 CE, is a manual of astronomy and mathematics, but its verses tell another story. The text itself claims to be a much older tradition, knowledge revealed by Surya, a sun god, to ancient sages in a forgotten age. Some traditions suggest it was preserved through cycles of civilization stretching back tens of thousands of years. And here is the mystery. The Surya Siddhanta states that the diameter of the Earth is about 12,750 kilometers. It goes further. It calculates the length of a solar year with an error of only 2 minutes compared to modern atomic clocks. It describes eclipses, planetary orbits, and even trigonometric functions used to measure the heavens. This is a level of sophistication we are taught belongs to Renaissance Europe or 20th century science. Yet here it is, preserved in a Sanskrit manuscript. Did Indian sages somehow discover these truths by patient observation alone? Or did they inherit fragments of an older knowledge system, one that predates history as we know it? Now let's turn to the Puranas and the Mahabharata. Both describe the world as divided into 7 vast landmasses, called Dvipas or island continents, separated by great oceans. At the center lies Jambu Dvipa, often identified with the Indian subcontinent or Asia itself. Around it are other Dvipas, Shakadvipa, Kushadvipa, Pushkara Dvipa, and more. Some scholars argue these could correspond to Africa, Europe, and even the Americas. Others dismiss them as pure allegory. But here's what makes it interesting. The Dvipas are not random. They are arranged in concentric patterns, separated by oceans described with peculiar detail. One ocean is of salt water, another of milk, another of clarified butter, honey, or even wine. On the surface, this sounds mythical, even absurd. But what if these poetic oceans are metaphors? Salt water could represent seas as we know them, while milk or honey could symbolize qualities of the environment, fertile lands, shining rivers, or abundant resources. Beneath the allegory might lie echoes of real geographies. Now imagine this. If oral tradition carried fragments of real cartography across thousands of years, the poetic layer might have been added to preserve or disguise the information. The Dvipas may not be literal islands of milk, but distorted memories of real continents mapped in a forgotten age. The skeptic might say, this is coincidence. Maybe the numbers are lucky guesses. Maybe the Dvipas are symbolic myths. But let's step into the mind of ancient scientists. How could someone without satellites, without telescopes, calculate the size of the Earth? The answer is not entirely impossible. The Greek philosopher Eratosthenes measured the Earth's circumference in 240 BCE by observing shadows in 2 cities at the same time of day. Ancient Indians could have done something similar, using geometry and astronomical observation. But here's the problem. The precision of the Surya Siddhanta is beyond expectation. It's not a rough estimate. It's exact to within a fraction of a percent. That suggests either a long tradition of continuous refinement or access to knowledge that already contained the answer. And if they did inherit it, who gave it to them? This is where Indian cosmology becomes fascinating. Unlike the linear history of the West, Indian tradition describes time as cyclical. Ages known as yugas rise and fall. Civilizations are born, thrive, and collapse, only to begin again. In this framework, it is entirely possible that a highly advanced civilization existed tens of thousands of years ago, mapping the Earth, studying the skies, and passing fragments of their knowledge into the next cycle before vanishing. This idea resonates with myths from around the world. Nearly every culture remembers a great flood, Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh, Noah's Ark in the Bible, and Manu's flood in India. A golden age of humanity destroyed, with only fragments of knowledge surviving. Could cartography have been among those fragments? And here we must recall the strange case of the Piri-Reis map of 1513. This Ottoman chart appears to show the coastline of South America with near-perfect accuracy, centuries before Europeans supposedly mapped it. More mysteriously, it may depict Antarctica, not covered in ice, but as it would have looked thousands of years ago. Piri-Reis himself admitted his work was copied from older maps. If fragments of ancient cartography survived into the Renaissance, why not into ancient India? India is not alone in this enigma. The Babylonians tracked planetary cycles with eerie precision. The Egyptians aligned the pyramids with celestial constellations. The Mayans created calendars accurate to fractions of a day. The Chinese recorded comets and eclipses thousands of years before Europe. Across the globe, we see pockets of ancient genius, advanced knowledge appearing out of nowhere, then vanishing again. Was each civilization independently brilliant? Or were they all inheriting scraps of a shared older world system? If so, India's Surya, Siddhanta, and the Dvipas may not just be myths, but one of the clearest surviving blueprints of that lost system. So what does all this mean? If ancient India truly preserved knowledge from a civilization tens of thousands of years ago, it changes everything we know about human history. Our story is no longer one of steady progress from primitive caves to modern skyscrapers, but of cycles of rise, collapse, and rediscovery. It means humanity has been capable of advanced thought, science, and even global mapping far earlier than textbooks admit. It means that myths, far from being fairy tales, might be memory, distorted, poetic, but carrying within them truths older than written history. And perhaps most importantly, it suggests that we too are part of that cycle. Just as earlier civilizations may have risen and fallen, so too could ours. But just as they passed fragments of knowledge into the future, perhaps it is our duty to carry wisdom forward so it will not be lost again. So we return to the question, did ancient India map the world 14,000 years ago? We may never know for certain. The Dvipas might be metaphor, the numbers might be coincidence, or they might be evidence of a forgotten science, preserved like a spark through the darkness of time. And yet the mystery lingers. Because when we read the Surya Siddhanta, when we trace the cosmic geography of the Puranas, when we imagine sages standing beneath the stars with nothing but their eyes and their minds, we cannot escape the feeling that they knew something vast, something that challenges our understanding of who we are and how long we have walked this earth. Maybe, just maybe, the first maps of the world were drawn not in Babylon or Greece, but in ancient India, in an age long before history began.